She was 17 when she vanished from a quiet town in Oregon. No goodbye, no note, just silence. For 9 years, Rachel Ellison was a ghost. Her family mourned, the town moved on, but justice never came. Then, on a cold February morning, Rachel walked into a police station in Spokane, Washington, and said 4 chilling words. "I want to talk." Her voice was calm, her eyes were tired. What she revealed shook investigators to their core. Rachel claimed she had been abducted, held captive in a remote cabin near the Idaho border. She spoke of the farm, a desolate stretch of land controlled by a man she only called Gray. According to Rachel, Gray wasn't alone. There were others, men in uniforms, men with power. They watched, they helped, they knew. Detective Marcus Evers took her first recorded interview. His official report reads, "Victim appears lucid, no signs of drug use. Statements contain consistent geographical markers matching remote border areas." But what Rachel said next made even seasoned officers fall silent. There were others. Girls. I don't know their names, I don't know where they went. I only know I'm the only one who made it out. She described the layout of the cabin in detail. The hidden trapdoor, the chains, the sound of footsteps every night at 3 a.m. Her wrists bore old scars, her ankles too. Doctors confirmed long-term signs of restraint. Still, some folks just weren't convinced. Her case, well, it had no missing persons report. Her parents never filed one. When asked why, her mother whispered to police, "We were told to stop looking. We were told she ran away, and if we kept asking questions, we'd regret it." Detectives unearthed an unsigned letter sent to the Ellisons 3 weeks after Rachel vanished. It read, "She's where she wants to be, don't call the cops." Forensics confirmed Rachel's DNA inside an abandoned cabin matching her description, about 60 miles from the location she gave. Inside, they found one object still intact, a single Polaroid photo. It showed Rachel. She looked emaciated, her eyes wide, and behind her, just out of focus, there was a man with a gray hood. Digital enhancement failed to identify the figure. There were no fingerprints, no official property records, no leads. And yet, Rachel was certain she could find the place again. A search party was launched. They followed her direction. For 3 days, nothing. Then, deep in the pines, they found the cellar. Empty, burned out, erased. Rachel stood at the edge of the ruin. She didn't cry. She only said, "He knew I was coming." No other survivors have come forward. No arrests have been made. The case remains open, unresolved. Some believe Rachel's story, others don't. But you know, one chilling truth remains. She escaped and came back for justice. You've been watching Vanished Whispers True Crime. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that refuse to stay buried. Voiceover. A neighbor, Mrs. Callahan, told police she saw a dark sedan parked outside the Ellison home the night Rachel vanished. She remembers a man in a gray hood, standing by the mailbox, watching the house. Her statement reads, "He just stood there, didn't move. I thought he was waiting for someone." Voiceover. Police interview transcript, March 2019. Detective, Rachel, did you ever see their faces? Rachel. Only once, he wore a badge. Detective, a police badge. Rachel. Yes. Voiceover. Investigators found a hidden compartment beneath the cabin floor. Inside, a collection of faded photographs, a child's shoe, and a locket engraved with the initials RE Forensics could not identify the fingerprints. The evidence was sent to the state lab, but results were inconclusive. Voiceover. Weeks later, a new letter arrived at the Ellison home. It read, "You found her, but you'll never find the others." The handwriting matched the first letter. Police traced the postmark to a town 200 miles away. No suspects, no leads. Voiceover. The case remains open. Rachel lives under a new name, far from Oregon. The man in the gray hood was never found. Some say he still watches, some say he's gone. The truth, like Rachel's scars, may never fully heal. Voiceover. The story takes a turn when a new voice steps from the shadows. A former deputy, haunted by secrets too heavy to bear. We hear the trembling confession recorded in a dim, echoing room. Former deputy, voice trembling. I never wanted to be part of this, but they told me if I didn't, I'd lose everything. My job, my family. I was there the night Rachel disappeared. I saw evidence. Her bracelet, a torn piece of her shirt. I was told to bury it, to say nothing. Voiceover. His words crack as guilt overwhelms him. Former deputy, voice breaking. I tried to forget, but her face. I see it every night. I can't keep silent anymore. People need to know the truth. Voiceover. The confession stirs old wounds and ignites new outrage. For the first time, a glimmer of hope. The possibility of justice even after years of pain and silence. But with this revelation comes a chilling question. Who else was involved and how far does the cover-up go? Voiceover. Just when the dust begins to settle, a new document emerges. An official police transcript, timestamped 2 days after the confession. The caller refuses to give a name, but their voice is steady, determined. Audio effect, faint static, muffled phone line, dispatcher calm. 911, what's your emergency? Caller, hushed, urgent. I don't want to be identified, but you need to know. Last week, late at night, I saw something behind the old mill. 4 men met there. 3 of them wore uniforms, police or deputies, I think. The 4th, he wore a gray hood. They argued. I heard the word Rachel. The man in the hood handed them something, looked like a thick envelope. Dispatcher pressing. Can you describe their faces? Caller. I couldn't see, too dark, but one of the officers, he had a limp. They talked about keeping quiet, and the evidence being gone for good. I heard one say, no one ever finds out, or we're all finished. Then they left, fast. Voiceover. The line goes dead before more details can be gathered. The transcript is brief, but its implications are explosive. Who is the man in the gray hood? How deep does this go? As the investigation reopens, the shadows grow longer, and the conspiracy, more dangerous than anyone imagined. Voiceover. As investigators comb through the cabin one final time, a loose floorboard yields a chilling discovery. A battered, leather-bound journal, its pages brittle with age and fear. The cover is unmarked, but inside, the entries are written in a strange looping code. Alongside the cryptic words there are sketches, faces half erased, a map marked with red X's and, most hauntingly, a series of eyes, wide, watchful, terrified. The forensic team gathers around, frustration mounting with every indecipherable line. Cipher experts are called in, but the code is personal, layered with references only someone close to the case might understand. Each attempt to crack it reveals just fragments, names, dates, a mention of the mill, and again, the name Rachel surrounded by frantic scrawls. For Rachel, the journal is both a key and a wound. She recognizes a childhood drawing, a symbol she used to doodle in the margins of her notebooks. The realization hits hard. The journal belonged to someone she trusted, someone who had watched her suffering from the shadows. As she flips through the pages, her hands tremble, not just with fear, but with the hope that somewhere in these coded lines lies the truth she's been desperate to find. The search for answers intensifies. Every page turned is a step deeper into a maze of secrets, and with each revelation, the emotional toll on Rachel and everyone involved grows heavier. The journal is more than evidence. It's a testament to silent witnesses and the darkness that still lingers in the corners of the case. Voiceover. The journal's final page weighs heavy on Rachel's mind as she returns to the house where it all began. The living room, once a place of comfort, now feels charged with unspoken words. Her parents sit across from her, their faces etched with worry and remorse. Rachel's voice trembles, but she presses on, journal clutched in her hands. Why didn't you tell me everything? She asks, her eyes searching theirs for honesty. Silence stretches thin, until her mother finally speaks, her voice barely above a whisper. We thought we were protecting you. There were things we couldn't explain, things we were ashamed of. Her father's hands tremble as he admits to secrets long buried, a family debt, a lost friendship, choices made out of fear rather than malice. Tears well in Rachel's eyes, but anger gives way to understanding as her parents reveal the truth behind the coded journal entries. Messages meant to warn, to shield, to confess. The weight of years is lifted, if only a little, as old wounds are aired and forgiven. For the first time, Rachel sees her parents not just as protectors or gatekeepers, but as flawed people, haunted, like her, by the shadows of the past. The conversation doesn't erase the pain, but it brings a fragile peace. Rachel realizes that healing doesn't come from forgetting, but from facing what was hidden and letting go. As she leaves the room, the journal feels lighter in her hands. The path forward is still uncertain, but Rachel knows she no longer walks it alone. The reckoning at home is not just an ending, it's the first step toward hope. Voiceover. Just as Rachel begins to find peace, the story takes an unexpected turn. News breaks, a second survivor has been found. The world is stunned as a pale, gaunt young man is brought to the local station. His name is Daniel, and he was reported missing the same night as Rachel. The police interview is tense, every word crackling with uncertainty. Detective, Daniel, can you describe what happened that night? Daniel, voice shaking. We weren't alone. Rachel said she saw someone outside the window. She told me to hide, so I ran. I never saw her again after that. Detective, Rachel's account is different. She claims you were gone before anything happened. Daniel, confused, defensive. No, that's not true. She told me to go, I swear. She said she'd handle it. I heard her yelling, then nothing. Detective, Rachel insists she was alone the whole time. Daniel, voice breaking. She's lying, or she's forgotten, but I know what I saw, I know what happened. Voiceover. The contradictions are stark. Rachel and Daniel's stories can't both be true. Whispers swirl. Who was telling the truth? What really happened in those lost hours? As investigators dig deeper, the case unravels once more. The answers seem just out of reach, and with every new revelation, the line between victim and witness blurs. The chilling truth. Sometimes memory is as much a prison as any locked room. The reckoning is far from over. Voiceover. The dust settles at last. The investigation, reignited by Daniel's return, uncovers a vital piece of evidence. A weathered photograph found hidden inside the lining of Rachel's old backpack. In the faded image, the man in the gray hood stands beside a young woman, Daniel's missing older sister. DNA tests confirm the connection. The man in the gray hood was not a stranger, but a desperate father, searching for his lost child, twisted by grief and paranoia. Detectives piece together the fragmented accounts. On that fateful night, the man in the gray hood broke into the farmhouse, convinced his daughter was being held there. Rachel and Daniel, terrified, fled in opposite directions. In the chaos, Rachel's memory fractured, her mind protecting her from the trauma. Daniel, hiding in the woods, witnessed the confrontation but was too afraid to return. The authorities traced the man's steps. He perished in the forest days later, his body discovered beneath a collapsed ravine, clutching a locket engraved with his daughter's name. The truth is both tragic and cathartic, a story of love twisted by loss, of two families forever changed by a night of fear. For Rachel and her family, the revelation brings closure. She sits with her parents on their porch, the evening sun casting long shadows. Her mother gently squeezes her hand. Rachel breathes deeply, her scars still present, but her eyes clear for the first time in years. Daniel reunites with his own family, and the two survivors meet, no longer haunted by the unknown, but bound by truth. Voiceover. The mystery is resolved. The man in the gray hood was never a monster, only a father lost in the darkness of his own grief. Rachel at last is free, and as the sun sets on the farmhouse, the past is finally laid to rest. Fade to black. Voiceover. Just as the community begins to heal, a new voice emerges from the shadows. A former neighbor, unseen for years, steps forward with a revelation that shakes the fragile peace. In a recorded interview, their voice trembles. I saw someone else that night, not the man in the gray hood, but a second figure by the barn. They argued. I remember the other man's face was familiar, but I never said anything. I was scared. Detectives, blindsided by this testimony, reopen the files. The timeline, thought to be airtight, unravels. The neighbor's account contradicts the accepted narrative, suggesting that the man in the gray hood was not alone, and that another presence lurked in the darkness, unseen and unaccounted for. Rachel and Daniel, both seeking closure, are thrust back into uncertainty. Doubt creeps in, old wounds ache, and trust erodes as the possibility of a hidden accomplice surfaces. The community, once united by tragedy, is divided again by suspicion. Voiceover. As investigators race to verify the new account, the question lingers. Was the truth ever fully uncovered, or does another shadow still haunt the farmhouse ruins? The story, it seems, is not over. Voiceover. In the quiet hours after the new testimony, Rachel sits alone, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on her chest. The farmhouse, once a place of terror, now lives on in her mind, its shadows lengthening with every unanswered question. She stares at the window, searching for peace in the darkness beyond, but finds only the reflection of her own haunted eyes. Every headline, every whispered rumor in town, reopens wounds she thought had begun to heal. Friends offer comfort, but their words ring hollow. At night she replays every memory, wondering what she missed, what she might never know. Did she really escape? Or is she still trapped, imprisoned by a truth that slips further away with every revelation? Rachel's dreams are restless, faces blur and voices echo, and she wakes with tears she can't explain. The case's unresolved nature seeps into everything, her trust, her hope, her sense of safety. She wants closure, but the new testimony has shattered the fragile foundation she built. Now, even her own memories feel suspect. As Rachel walks through town, she senses the weight of other people's doubts, the sideways glances, the questions left unasked. The search for justice, once her guiding light, now feels like a maze with no exit. Yet, beneath the pain, a stubborn resolve remains. She will not let the shadows win. But tonight, as the farmhouse ruins smolder in her mind, Rachel finally lets herself grieve, not just for what happened, but for the certainty she may never regain. Voiceover. Sometimes the most haunting scars are the ones no one else can see. Voiceover. As dawn breaks, a faded photograph tumbles from the folds of an old case file, overlooked until now. It's discovered by a junior detective, buried beneath years of paperwork, its edges curled and yellowed with time. The image is simple. A group gathered at the farmhouse on a night no one remembers, faces half lit by lantern glow. But in the background, a shadowy figure stands apart, watching from the doorway. The detail is chilling. This person was never mentioned in any testimony, never included in police reports. The realization sends shockwaves through the investigation team. Who is this figure? Why were they there, and why did no one recall their presence? Rachel is called in to view the photograph. Her breath catches. Something about the posture, the outline, tugs at the edges of her memory. Suddenly, fragments of that night rearrange themselves, snatches of conversation, a fleeting glimpse, the sense of being watched. The photograph doesn't just reopen the case, it unravels everything she thought she knew. With this single image, suspicion shifts, and the narrative fractures. The investigation, once believed to be at a dead end, surges forward in a new, uncertain direction. The truth, it seems, has always been hiding in plain sight, just out of focus, waiting to be seen. Voiceover. Sometimes the answers we seek are there from the very beginning, waiting for the light to catch them at just the right angle. Voiceover. Night falls heavy over the farmhouse, the air thick with unanswered questions. In the dimly lit kitchen, Rachel stands face to face with Detective Harris, the worn photograph clutched tightly in her hand. The silence between them is electric, charged with secrets neither is ready to share. Rachel's voice trembles as she breaks the silence. "You were there that night, weren't you? You never mentioned it in your report." Harris's eyes dart to the photograph, then away, his jaw set in a line of guilt and resolve. He hesitates before answering, his tone low and guarded. "I was following a lead. I didn't think it mattered. But I saw someone who shouldn't have been there." The confession hangs in the air, heavy and dangerous. Rachel steps closer, her suspicion sharpening. "You've been hiding more than just this. Why? Who are you protecting?" Harris's hands clench at his sides. "It's not that simple," he whispers. "If the truth comes out, it destroys more than just this case. There's more at stake than you know." The confrontation escalates, voices rising just above a whisper, each accusation peeling back layers of buried motives. Rachel's determination clashes with Harris's desperation to keep the past sealed. Shadows flicker across the walls as the lantern flame gutters, a silent witness to the unraveling trust. In this moment, alliances shift, motives blur. The real story, it seems, is more tangled than anyone imagined. As Rachel storms out, the photograph left behind on the table, the mystery deepens. The answers are closer than ever, but so is the danger. Voiceover. In the darkness, truths are rarely simple, and every revelation casts a new shadow. Voiceover. A faint creak echoes through the hallway as Rachel slips outside, the farmhouse door left ajar behind her. The night air is thick with anticipation, every shadow stretching longer in the pale moonlight. Inside, Detective Harris sits alone at the kitchen table, the forgotten photograph illuminated by a sliver of lantern light. He picks it up, his fingers trembling, eyes searching the faces frozen in time, as if hoping for forgiveness, or perhaps a sign. Outside, Rachel pauses at the edge of the porch, her breath visible in the cold. She looks back, the weight of unspoken truths pressing down on her shoulders. In the distance, an engine idles, headlights flickering through the trees. Is it a threat, a witness, or a ghost from the past waiting for the chance to be heard? The camera lingers on the photograph, now marked with a smudge of blood red, an accident or a warning. Harris's silhouette is framed in the window, his expression unreadable. Rachel disappears into the night, her footsteps muffled by the wind. Voiceover. Some answers remain locked in silence, waiting for the right moment, or the right person, to set them free. But as the farmhouse settles into uneasy quiet, one thing is clear: the truth is never as simple as it seems. And sometimes the door to the past is left open, just wide enough for the darkness to slip through. The screen fades to black, leaving only the sound of a distant heartbeat and the question, who, if anyone, will ever tell the whole story? Voiceover. As the first pale light of dawn washes over the farmhouse, the restless shadows finally retreat. Rachel stands at the edge of the woods, her breath steady now, her gaze fixed on the approaching headlights. The car door opens, and a familiar figure steps out. It's Detective Harris, the photograph clutched in his hand, determination in his eyes. They meet in the clearing, words unspoken passing between them. Harris reveals the truth at last. The photograph, once a simple memento, held the key to everything. Hidden in its frame was a letter, Rachel's letter, written in desperation during her captivity, naming her captor the very man who owned the farm. The evidence, overlooked for years, now shines in the morning sun. Inside the farmhouse, officers move swiftly. The cellar is unearthed, its secrets finally exposed. The missing girl's belongings, the coded journal, and the final piece, the confession, recorded and sealed away by the perpetrator himself. Justice, long delayed, is now undeniable. Rachel, trembling but resolute, faces the families of the other victims. She speaks her truth, her voice unwavering, giving a name to every shadow and a story to every silence. The community, fractured by years of suspicion and grief, begins to heal. For the first time, hope outshines fear. Detective Harris, once haunted by doubt, finds peace as he hands over the evidence, closure for the families and for himself. The farmhouse door, once left open to darkness, is now bathed in golden light. Voiceover. Sometimes, the truth hides in plain sight, waiting for someone brave enough to face it. And though scars remain, justice brings the promise of healing. The case is closed, the lost remembered, and those who survived step into the sun, carrying forward the strength to begin again. As the screen fades, the distant heartbeat is replaced by the sound of birdsong. The story is no longer a warning but a testament that even in the deepest night dawn will come, and with it, answers.